I heard that you were looking for a non-sponsored video that's going to tell you what supplements you actually need to take. So here we are. If you don't know me, my name's Haley and I'm your realistic and balanced bestie, helping you build a stronger brain and body. As a trainer for over 6 years now, I have seen so many scams in the fitness and health industry, and unfortunately they all work really well because we're kind of in an era where everybody wants a quick fix. And I do think that some supplements have their place when it comes to deficiencies or helping with certain illnesses, but overall, supplements are just that. They are supposed to be supplemental to the food that you are already eating in your day-to-day life. They're not meant to replace the food that you eat. So I'm going to be talking about the top 6 supplements in the health and fitness industry and whether or not they're actually worth it to take them. I'm also going to rapid fire 3 of the more uncommon supplements, but the ones that I've been asked questions about recently, just so you can get all the answers that you need all in one video. Before we get into it, please make sure you're subscribed if you're watching on YouTube or following my podcast if you're listening on Spotify, and make sure you check out the description below so that you can get a bunch of free resources for your fitness and mindset journey. Now, as for supplements, these 6 supplements we're going to be covering today is going to be protein, that means protein powders, protein snacks, anything of that nature, BCAAs, creatine, fat burners, pre-workouts, and greens powders. So starting with protein, if you've consumed any kind of fitness content anywhere in the last few years, you probably know that protein is essential, but you might not understand why it's actually essential. So protein is made up of a bunch of smaller building blocks called amino acids. And when you eat protein, your body breaks down these amino acids into smaller compounds. And then they enter your bloodstream to get used in various ways. So they might be repairing muscle tissue, building up your muscles, and making hormones and enzymes that just help your body work properly. Any form of whey protein is what's known as a complete protein, meaning that it has all 9 essential amino acids in the protein already. And these 9 amino acids are things that our body can't produce on its own, so that's why it's really important to make sure that you're getting it from outside sources. So the answer to whether or not protein powder is a scam is simple, but it's also got a few caveats. So while protein powder is really helpful in your fitness journey and can be a great resource if you're low on calories for the day or you just didn't hit your protein goal, obviously, of course, there's going to be caveats because some companies put extra sweeteners and other additives into their protein powders, and things like that do make it a little bit harder to justify consuming protein powder every single day. But if we're being honest, in the way that I personally look at it, so much of what we eat is also filled with so many additives and so many things that we don't even know about. So I would rather be getting something that has additives and sugars in it that I know has actual protein sources in it than getting something that's just filled with sugar and has no protein benefits. Now, of course, I'm not doing this every single day. I try to just save protein shakes or protein snacks or protein bars, whatever it might be, for the days where I kind of need an emergency pick-me-up, or the days where I know that I'm not going to hit my protein goal that day, or the days where I just don't really feel like eating and I know that I need to eat some food, so I just have to get something down really quick. So overall, while protein powder isn't necessarily the most healthy way to get your protein in, I think it can be worth it in some situations. And of course, you don't want to replace all of your meals with protein powder or protein snacks or anything like that, because while protein is a full source of amino acids, it's not a full source of all the other nutrients that your body needs to just survive. And it's also not going to satiate you the same way that eating an actual real meal with real food is going to satiate you. So as a summary, you can drink whey protein powder as a backup option whenever you need, or grab protein snacks if you're looking for a little something extra, but just be wary of the sugar content if that's something that you're looking at. And know that when it comes to pea protein or any other vegan protein source, those are not going to be whole proteins. So they're not going to have all 9 essential amino acids in them. They're only going to have a partial amount of those amino acids in each form of those protein powders. But luckily, that brings us right into BCAAs. I think the only real time that these are actually absolutely necessary is if you are only consuming pea protein, vegan proteins, or any other vegan or vegetarian protein source, because you are not getting those full essential amino acid profiles in the food that you're eating. So this might be where it's beneficial to add in some extra BCAAs into your diet just to make sure you're getting a well-rounded amount of amino acids. And just in case I didn't already say this, BCAAs stand for branched chain amino acids. For some reason, that is always such a tongue twister for me. But overall, BCAAs are not necessary for the majority of the population, or for people that are just getting full protein sources from the foods that they're eating or other things that they're consuming. And I know they've been kind of marketed as a recovery supplement, but in reality, there is nothing that the BCAAs are doing that a protein powder or the protein that you're eating isn't already doing to help you recover. And of course, if you want to spend upwards of $50 to get some flavored water, I'm not going to stop you, but just know that there's absolutely no reason to force yourself to buy BCAAs because they're just not all that necessary. And they're not going to do anything bad to you. They're not going to harm you at all. Again, if you want to do it and you want to drink them, and if that's your vibe, then go for it. But don't feel forced into buying BCAAs just because everyone else is saying that it's a recovery magic supplement, because that's just not true. Now for supplement number 3, we are touching on creatine, which is kind of the love of my life, if we're being completely honest. And you've probably heard the hype and you're wondering if it's justified, so let's get into what creatine really does. Creatine is a compound that's found in red meat and fish, but it's also something that's naturally occurring in our bodies. 95% of creatine is stored in our muscles, and once it's in our muscles, it's converted to something called phosphocreatine, which is a reserve of high energy phosphates in your muscle cells. So when you're doing something like weightlifting or sprinting or something along those lines, your body uses up something called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Now this is basically your body's energy currency. Now you also have something in your body called ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate, and creatine can actually combine with this ADP to create more ATP, which is basically just a scientific way of saying that if you imagine your energy levels as a sim bar or some other video game where you have a level of your endurance or your energy, anything like that. As the bar starts to deplete, creatine actually mixes with ADP to create more ATP or more bars on your energy levels. Having this faster ATP regeneration actually helps you recover a lot faster, and creatine itself actually draws water into your muscles to also help those recover faster as well. Now the act of drawing in that water to your muscles actually causes something called cell volumization. I really threw in so many tongue twisters into this. This is not a good decision on my part. But that cell volumization is why you might hear some people say that creatine made them look or feel bulky, but on the flip side, you also might hear some people say, oh my god, creatine gives me such a good pump. That is just because it is drawing in a little bit more water into the areas that you're working. So whatever muscle you're working out, the water is going to pull in and make that muscle look fuller, which is why most people do love creatine. But I can also see why people say that it makes them feel bulky, because when you're not actually seeing muscle definition yet and you're just seeing more water being drawn into your muscles, it doesn't necessarily look like it's good muscle definition. It just kind of looks like there's more mass on your body, which isn't necessarily true. It's just more water being drawn into your muscles, but because your muscles aren't really popping out yet, I can understand why it might feel like it's making you feel a little bit bulkier. By the way, if you didn't know, I have a whole episode on whether or not weightlifting actually makes you bulky, so if that's something you're worried about, definitely go check that out after this video. Now, it does take about 4 to 6 weeks of taking creatine consistently to have your muscles be consistently filled out and really looking nice and juicy all the time. And unfortunately, if you stop taking creatine, these results are going to go away, and that nice big juiciness is just going to fade away in probably about 4 to 6 weeks. And there's also been some studies that show that creatine has some cognitive benefits as well, such as things like improved memory, cognitive processing, and mood improvement. But it's important to note that all studies that have been done on creatine have only been done on creatine monohydrate. So when you hear all of these other fancy creatines like crealkaline or any other form of creatine, you don't need to buy into that. Just stick to creatine monohydrate, because that is the thing that everyone is doing studies on and everyone knows actually works. And you're probably going to see so many different variations of this because everyone's always trying to make money and they want to make sure that they're coming out with a brand new product, but a lot of times they haven't actually done studies on these things, and the things that actually have studies done on them are the basics, and the basic being creatine monohydrate. Supplement number 4, aka the one that has everyone in a chokehold for some reason, we are talking about fat burners. Most fat burners are labeled as something that can increase your metabolism, reduce fat absorption, and increase fat oxidation during workout. Now, some of them vary in what they contain, but most of them do just have a very high level of caffeine, which is really the only ingredient that has any kind of scientific backing when it comes to boosting metabolic rate and reducing fat absorption, but those results are very limited and do not last a long time by any means. And it's important to note that the effects of caffeine do diminish very significantly as you build a tolerance to caffeine, which for most people happens very fast. Some fat burners also include ingredients such as L-carnitine, yohimbe, appetite suppressants, green tea extract, and quite a few other ingredients that they claim to be magical fat burners, but in reality, none of these are in high enough doses to actually help you see really any significant changes in your body. Now, out of all those ingredients I just mentioned, I do want to touch on L-carnitine really quickly because I have seen a few people talking about this supplement separately and claiming that it's a magical fat loss supplement. So L-carnitine is an amino acid derivative and it helps with energy production. It has been alleged to help enhance fat metabolism and boost exercise performance in some people, but the kicker is that it only showed benefits in people who were already deficient in that amino acid already. So this is going to be people who weren't consuming red meat, fish, or poultry. Now, L-carnitine is not all bad. There have been some cognitive benefits shown from this supplement, but as far as fat loss goes, there is nothing special about it. And as a whole, fat burners, just in general, there is nothing special about them. They're not a magical supplement. You can't just take them as a quick, easy fix. It's not gonna make you magically shed pounds overnight. You're gonna get nothing from these other than a really, really intense burst of caffeine, and maybe you might sweat a little bit more than you normally do. Now, if you want to take it as your pre-workout, that is fine because again, they do have a very high dosage of caffeine, but I would be very careful with ones that have ingredients such as yohimbe because that has been shown to have really high side effects. It's been shown to cause an extremely high heart rate and high blood pressure, and it also causes a lot of people to experience anxiety and lightheadedness. So just be very cautious of this and know that if your only goal is really looking for a high burst of caffeine and something that's going to make you sweat, you're probably better off just buying a normal pre-workout. And speaking of pre-workouts, that brings us to our next supplement. I gotta be honest when I say that almost all pre-workouts are pretty much exactly the same. They might vary in the caffeine dosage that they have, and they might have a little bit different nootropics, which is really beneficial, and it's been nice that a lot of pre-workout brands are adding in nootropics, but you definitely want to make sure that you're reading the label and not getting something that has a really high proprietary blend, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But last ingredient that's in most pre-workouts is beta-alanine, which is that stuff that makes you feel really itchy and makes you want to scratch your face off. So caffeine, like we said, is scientifically proven, and it does really help you with your energy levels, of course, as we know, but it's also going to help sustain your energy for a little bit longer, which is why they put it in these pre-workouts. Now, the beta-alanine that's in most pre-workouts is going to help improve your strength and your power during exercise. It's also going to delay your muscle fatigue so that you can continue to work out a little bit longer. Now, if you absolutely hate the itchy, scratchy feeling that you get when you take something that has pre-workout or beta-alanine in it, I would suggest just taking caffeine pills or finding a different form of pre-workout that doesn't have beta-alanine, but that's going to be pretty hard because most of them do have it as an ingredient. But on the flip side, if you're really caffeine sensitive and you still want a pre-workout, I would suggest finding something that's a non-stim pre-workout, because anything that's non-stim is just not going to have the stimulant in the ingredients, which the stimulant in this instance is caffeine. A lot of non-stim pre-workouts also add a bunch of nootropics in there, which again is really beneficial, but just make sure that you trust the company and that you're really looking into that, because nootropics are a whole other realm to dive into. And as someone who is very caffeine sensitive, I only take non-stim pre-workouts, and I find that the itchiness isn't as bad when it's not mixed with caffeine, because I think for me personally at least, the only time that I really feel like I'm trying to itch out of my skin when I'm on pre-workout is when it's mixed with caffeine, because I think the anxiety I get from caffeine alone mixed with the slight itchiness that you feel just makes it feel a lot more amplified, and I find myself just having a full-blown panic attack when I take an actual pre-workout. So if you haven't tried a non-stim and you're still scared of beta-alanine, just try it out before you completely cancel it out. And last but not least, the absolute bane of my existence: greens powders. Okay, not really, but I do just wish that they would stop marketing these as gut healing, anti-bloat, and a complete replacement for eating vegetables. My biggest issue with 99% of greens powders is something called proprietary blend. Proprietary blends are when you see on the list of ingredients something called a blend or a complex, and it has just one number next to that with a bunch of ingredients listed underneath it. So the number that's on the right is the total amount of milligrams, in most cases, that the entire blend is in that product. So using AG1 as an example here, they have something called a digestive enzyme and super mushroom complex, and the total amount for this complex is 154 milligrams. Now there's 5 ingredients in that blend, and one of those ingredients is something called bromelain or bromelain. I honestly don't know how to pronounce that, but it's a dietary enzyme. Now stick with me here, because the daily recommended dosage for this one ingredient is 500 to 2,000 milligrams per day. But remember, there's only 154 milligrams of this total blend in this product. So not only do you know 100% that you're not getting a full serving of this one ingredient, but you can probably guess that you're not getting a full serving of any other ingredient on that list either. And the biggest problem in the industry when it comes to proprietary blends is that they're not required to list the actual amount of each ingredient in a complex, in a blend, and anything like that. So what a lot of companies do is they will make a blend that is 95% filled with the cheapest ingredient possible on that list, and then they might sprinkle in 0.1% of every other ingredient so that they can legally say that they're putting in everything into that blend. But in reality, you're just getting a bunch of filler because they are just putting in the cheapest ingredient as the biggest part of that blend. And not to mention, most greens powders are pretty much just fiber powders, and when people get a magical anti-bloating experience, what they're really just experiencing is fiber. That's it. They are just experiencing their digestion working properly because they are actually getting a decent amount of fiber in their diet now. Now, I do think some of these greens powders do have a decent amount of vitamins and minerals in them. You could easily just take a multivitamin for half the price and get the same benefits and skip the nasty taste, because even though the greens powders taste like greens, most of them don't even have a full serving of veggies in one serving. So if you really want to suffer through the taste of most of these greens for just maybe half a serving of extra greens on top of what you're already eating, then go for it. But otherwise, you are better off actually eating your vegetables and taking a multivitamin if you really feel like you're lacking on that many vitamins and minerals. And please, for the love of God, check the ingredients list and make sure you are not getting things with proprietary blends in them, and try to make sure that everything you get has individual ingredients listed with the amounts of each serving. It also feels important to note that no supplement mentioned in this episode, or any other supplement in the fitness and health industry for that matter, is regulated by the FDA. And while I think some companies have gotten better about being honest, it's really important to make sure that whatever company you're purchasing from is actually doing third-party testing outside of their company, especially if it's a supplement that's claiming to have really high digestive or cognitive or just health benefits in general, because you want to make sure that they're testing on people that are not just people in their company, and that they have a much larger control group that they're actually testing this product with. Now that we've covered these 6 main supplements of the health and fitness industry, I'm gonna rapid fire 3 real quick that I got questions about and ones that I've just seen on TikTok in general. Number 1 being glutathione, and I've seen this to be broadcasted to help boost your metabolism, but in reality, there's really no scientific evidence that actually backs